The opportunity to go in as the Superchargers lay down the blade. Young Brady Agilities slices through Hawk, takes him out. The advantage is theirs and they can taste victory.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very, very special episode of CAOverwatch. We have with us the man who needs no introduction, the man with the 12-inch Genji blade, the man who stole our hearts during the Summer Showdown, Brady Agilities Girardi. Brady, thank you so much for coming on, man. I just wanted to start this off by saying thank you very much. I'm your host as always, Spencer, and with me is Chris. Chris, how's it going?
Hey. It's pretty awesome. Situated here in Kelowna, BC. Spending some time in the sun, which is awesome. A little week off from Overwatch, so that's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. And Brady, how about yourself, man? How's it going? How have you been since the Toronto Defiant had that Cinderella story run to the top 4 finish? How have things been?
They've been going a lot better, honestly. Yeah, now that we've kind of proven that we're getting better again, and we're kind of competing with the better teams, it's been a nice relief, getting to take a week off and actually have a good performance so I'm not just dwelling and crying in my room by myself, actually, but. Yeah, it's been nice. Yeah.
No, it's gotta feel amazing. I mean, especially with the struggles I think you guys have had, earlier on in the year, and there's been a lot of people, even at times ourselves included, who have sort of doubted this team. And then for you guys to come out and make the performance and the statement that I think you guys did by beating not only the LA Valiant, which was I think really impressive, but I think the Atlanta game was a little bit more impressive to me because they've sort of had your number, all year long. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I just, again, a great tournament. A lot on everyone's mind, but I think the number one question that everyone really wanted, the answers to is why the hell did you shave your head, Brady? The elephant in the room, because my man's had some luscious locks going on before.
Yes.
So, what was the story behind that?
I don't know. Okay, so I was thinking about it for a while. I wanted to grow my hair out long, but I also dyed my hair before. I used to dye it platinum blonde, so I had to bleach it a lot. And my hair started dying pretty much. So I just I want to grow it out, but I don't want it to be dead hair. So I just shaved it all off. It's quarantine, Now's the chance, or now was the chance, if anything. So yeah, we just went for it. I didn't want it to be that short, but Kariv, he. Sorry, pardon my language, but yeah, he just shaved it right at the top, all the way down, and then Jay just had to cut it all off,
I can't believe you trusted Kariv with that. That seems like your first mistake.
I don't think he would do that to me, honestly. I did not expect him to do that.
I think it takes years and playing with Kariv with 2 teams to be able to build out that trust, and just fell down in that instant.
Yeah, I was gonna say. It's like that trust fall where you do the trust fall, then you fall down. The last second, Kariv is wait, what did you say? And you just hit the floor running. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I probably should have told him, because I told Jay I didn't want it to be that short, but then I was literally I was God's bald, I was full bald.
That was I think that was Static who did the whole God's meme. That popped up on Twitter. That was pretty funny.
It was really funny. Yeah.
So you come from a small town, Alberta, and now you're living in Toronto. I'm sure there's a lot more things to do and places to eat in Toronto. So tell us real quickly, what are some of your favorite places to eat in Toronto or go to when there isn't quarantine?
Honestly, in Toronto, there's a really good Thai place I like. It's called Pai, P-A-I.
Yeah.
And then it's really good. Yeah.
It's fantastic. I literally had it 2 weeks ago. It was amazing. Yeah. Their green curry is my favorite dish, but yeah, it's really good.
Oh, really? I need to try that. I've only been getting Pad Thai, but that and just ramen spots. That's all I've been pretty much getting. Ramen spots. It's a healthy place called Basil Box. It's also Thai food.
Yeah.
Interesting. Pretty much those 2, and then whatever ramen stuff like that.
I highly recommend Pai, especially they are on Skip the Dishes, I believe, which the Toronto Defiant has a little sponsorship. So definitely recommend that for everyone out there if you've never tried it, because it's totally worth it.
It's really good.
Yeah, so I mean, let's just sort of jump into this, because obviously, like I said, it's been a up and down season to say the least. I kind of just want to get your guys' sort of thoughts, your team's sort of thoughts when you were going into the Summer Showdown. Because, the week before, obviously, Genji was still meta, and you had what I'd consider a disappointing game versus the Dallas Fuel and getting 3-0'd. And I know that yourself talked about this on stream, and other people had talked about this on Twitter about how the scrims were going so well, and it was so disappointing to have this performance. So, what happened with that game, and what was your team's mindset going into the Summer Showdown? How far did you think you guys could go?
Honestly, like, yeah, we had a really good week of scrims before the Dallas game, and then obviously we got 3-0'd. Bit of an unfortunate situation. I think our mentals were a little like, we were like a little unsure because we knew we were doing good in the meta, but then we also had that like really disappointing performance. So kind of like set us back a little bit. But I think going into the next week, we just kind of like tried to forget about that match and focus on the next ones. And yeah, I think it worked out for us. We just played more like ourselves in the other matches. But yeah. I'm still sad we lost to Dallas, but you know.
Yeah, I know. Especially we were watching it because there was no decay in the lineup, and I was like, man, we have this game, and Vancouver just won 3-0. Although, like in your guys' defense, Vancouver won 3-0 in a double hit scan meta, not in the Genji meta where Doha can play as Genji. Like, so it's an unfair comparison. But it was what it was because going into the LA game, obviously you lose against Dallas 3-0, and then not only does that suck, but as soon as you guys lose, you have to go on the phone with, was it your previous coach, Packing 10? And have him sort of call you guys out to your face, calling you bad. What was sort of like your thoughts when he called you out? And then how did you think that match was going to go, and what surprised you the most?
Honestly, I was pretty confident going into that. Even though we lost to Dallas, I was pretty confident going into a Valiant match because, you know, we got to play the Genji and they didn't really have a Genji player, or at least I thought they're going to play like Shax and KSP, which I think they did majority of the time.
Yeah, King's Row, but
yeah, he played a couple maps, but I think we were confident going into that match. Honestly, I was feeling good about it too. I wanted to be my old team. Packing called us bad, so gave me more motivation to, you know, just pop off and beat them. So yeah, it felt good, but I wasn't too worried about that match, honestly.
Yeah, because it's nice to say. Because sorry, because you can go.
I said I think in the LA Valiant game, one of the defining moments for me was when you guys had the massive comeback on Junkertown. You know, pretty large time bank, and if I was going to go to map 5, you guys were able to bounce back and win that. Like, what kind of changed as you guys were playing that map to really kind of have that resurgence at the end and come back with that win?
I know what you're talking about. I remember that too, because I was like, after our first defense, I was like, shit, like we might have to go to map 5. Like this is not looking good. But I don't know. We just kind of like forgot about it. We played our attack. We did really good, and then our second defense, you know, obviously went a lot better. But I don't remember exactly what we talked about. I think we just like kind of forgot about the defense and just like focused on it. You know, I don't know. We just played really well, especially on our second attack.
Yeah, because I remember like seeing that, and LA Valiant went for their first attack, and it was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds in time make, and I was like, man, I've seen this before. Like, I was like, there's no way Toronto bounces back, right? Like, they're gonna go down. It's gonna go to map 5. It's gonna be another like, you know, clown fiesta like it was the first time you guys played LA Valiant, which was super close. And then all of a sudden, you guys cap it a little bit less time, but still a really good time make, and then you full cap it again on Junkertown. I was like, what is this?
Team?
This is the first time we've seen this, and I think that was that must have helped like your guys' confidence and momentum, because I think you really took that into your next match versus the Atlanta Reign, which you guys have struggled with all year. And then it just seemed like once again you were able to sort of scrap back with like a disappointing match in Rialto and then coming back in the final map. Like, did you guys really take some lessons from the LA Valiant game that you sort of brought with you?
I think the main thing we like kind of learned from the Valiant game is that even if it seems like we're like down, like we always just like bounce back. Like we literally just forget about it. We know we played like in the Atlanta series, for example, we know we played really well up until Rialto. So we literally just said like, forget about this map. This map never happened. Like we played like absolute trash on the map. So we're just going to focus on next. And that's what we did. And we ended up like 2-0ing them on Nepal. But yeah, that's pretty much like how we kind of won both those games. I think is we just kind of, you know, like some teams like will dwell on their mistakes and they'll just be like, oh, okay, we lost. Like after that Rialto game was like, damn, like they kind of just destroyed us, but we kind of just forgot about it. And yeah, it worked out for us really well.
Yeah, because and speaking of the Atlanta game, because this is a game that I think was pretty interesting for me, because Atlanta was a team that you guys had really struggled with all year. You know, we'd heard about them sort of having a number in scrims, and obviously you've played them 3 times, and then you've yet to take a map off them in those 3 matches, and your team fight win percentage was like 31% going into this match. And on top of that, Atlanta's a really good team, especially in a double shield meta. So what was one of those things that sort of changed and clicked for your team that you were able to sort of come back and upset not only the second seed, but a second seed team that seemingly had your number all year long? Because it was really impressive.
Yeah, I think this honestly, like the meta lining up for us is probably the most important thing, and also like the things that we learned from Valiant, because Valiant and Atlanta are very like similar teams in this meta, with Ash Tracer, and you know they're like one of the few teams playing Ash Tracer, so we just kind of knew how to play against that match, and you know when they played the Genji on Rialto, we weren't expecting it, and we kind of like threw, but other than that, like we just kind of knew how to play against Ash Tracer in this meta, and then we just abused the fact that we had a Genji and they didn't, pretty much.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you want to maybe give us a little bit more insight into what happened with that Rialto map? Because that was like the one, probably like you said yourself, the weakest point throughout the overall tournament, which was, by the way, like such a huge success. As a Toronto fan, we were very happy. Is there anything? Was it just like Edison's sort of Genji caught you off guard? Because even when he started, you guys were rolling them, and it just seemed like once they got the momentum, you just had a hard time sort of getting it back.
Honestly, I remember, I think we were holding for like 2 or 3 minutes on our first defense. Like,
it was really close.
Yeah, we were doing really good. And then I think I died first. And then ever since then, it was just like kind of snowballed, and they won every fight on attack. So I think, honestly, it was just like a mixture of us. Ever since they started snowballing us when they're attacking, I think we just started playing bad. Like, I don't think there's anything more to it. Like, we just didn't play like we should have. Like, we played Rialto maybe 2 times in scrims the whole week. So
that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess like the final one then, because you guys were able to sort of bounce back, you know, and like you said, take that 2-0 from Nepal. Can you just sort of break down the ending of Nepal? Because in my opinion, that was one of the most intense Clan Fiestas ending to a series I've ever seen. I couldn't read the entire final map. And then obviously Nevix comes in with the greatest toe touch of all time. Hashtag toe touch 2020. Can you guys sort of break down that map, like, and how intense that was, and how does your team sort of regroup from like the split second where you're like, oh my god, we're not going to touch, we've lost, to oh my god, he got it, like we're back in this, right? Like, what is that like for a professional player, you know, in those situations?
Yeah, it's obviously very like nerve-wracking. I didn't think Nevis was gonna touch. I thought Kriv was gonna touch. I remember I was dead in that fight, and I was like, Kriv, you have to touch. Kriv, you have to touch. Like, Kriv, you literally have to touch. And he didn't hear me. He wasn't listening. I don't know. Everyone was screaming. And then he didn't touch. So I was like, oh shit, like we lost. Like there's like literally like a millimeter of overtime left, and I was like, all right, like we lost. Like I'm gonna focus on the next map. But then I found out we touched, and I didn't know how, because I was walking back, and then I found out that it was Nevix's like pinky toe or something. So yeah, it was pretty intense. And then, you know, once we got the touch, we were like, okay, winnable. Like we can actually like come back, and then what we did.
And I guess the final thing I want to bring up for the Atlanta game is it's truly was incredibly impressive, because I know the LA Valiant game was a big reason why you guys got it, but I wonder how much of it was your new sensitivity, because I was watching your stream the night before. The night before the big game versus Atlanta, and Agilities is sitting there trying to mess around with his sensitivity. He's like, man, I got to find a new one. Is that something you normally do, or are you just like, after the Valiant game, you're like, you know what, something's got to change? I thought that was funny.
No, I normally don't do that. I usually change my sense like very like infrequently, but I don't know, like something about it. I just felt like maybe a higher sense. Like I know like a lot of the other Korean Genji players are playing with high senses, so I just wanted to try it, and it ended up working. So.
Well, that's great. So the last game against Philadelphia, obviously it didn't go the way we wanted it to, but obviously still kudos to you guys for that game. It was a tough game. They were playing some really cracked heroes, and they went all the way almost. So for you guys, was there anything positive that you guys took away from the game that or was a good learning experience from the game that you can carry forward?
I think it's the fact that like Philly is one of the best teams in NA right now, and honestly, like I'm not too disappointed with how we played. Like we actually kept it close on every map but Anubis, like the first 2 maps. So I think we just took away the fact that like we went far in that tourney. We got 4th when no one expected us to even make it into the tourney, honestly. And then like we were playing kind of not as good as we like were doing in scrims in the other matches, and we still like kept it close with Philly, which is like a top team. So that's like kind of what we took away for it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Even on the our podcast that we did afterwards, we were very much like, anyone who's disappointed like really shouldn't be, right? Like this was a great performance by the team, and I mean Philly is just a fantastic team, like you said, right? Like it's really hard to like blame somebody for like, man, when like Carpe and Fury are on, right? Like they're such a tough team to come back from. Like they're just such
you
good
guys still
players.
play well against them.
And exactly, the first 2 maps were really close. So I guess I was just going to talk about sort of like what were some of the main lessons that you guys have learned from this tournament to lead into the August tournament to sort of replicate the success that you've seen? Because obviously I think it's more than just like, oh, Genji's meta and Agilities is a good Genji. Like ideally, and I think realistically there was more to it than just that, right? Like is there anything else that you guys sort of brought forward that you're like, hey, we can do this again and we can see the success once more?
Honestly, like I think everybody felt comfortable in this meta. I don't know, like it's just something clicked, and we all knew how to play the heroes, and you know, we knew how to play better as a team, and we knew how to like, I mean, I obviously knew how to play Genji because you know that's my hero, but it's just like the fact like we had like a good couple weeks of scrims going to the tournament, so we were confident going into it, which is what we didn't really have before in the other matches because you know we weren't winning a lot of scrims, but in this meta we were winning a lot of scrims, so that was obviously very good for us. We were like talking to each other more and giving each other more criticism in this meta because, you know, like I said, we all knew kind of what we were doing. So yeah, I think just a mixture of the two. Like, helped us. Yeah.
So that's amazing here, and I think that when it comes to the mentality, I think that's definitely been the biggest positive for the team as a whole going forward. And especially there's going to be a decent amount of new changes. You know, there's a new patch with hero pools and possibly a new meta. Do you have any, I guess, thoughts or opinions on the meta going forward with, you know, the break nerfs and no more armor pack? Do you think that, I mean, obviously with the hero bans, maybe Genji is going to be out of play, but do you think when there is no hero bans later on that there still is a possibility of playing Genji?
Yeah, I think so. As long as he's like, honestly, with the buff, he's pretty good and like out of blade. Like before, he was just like a blade bot, and then you know, he couldn't do anything before. But I think these buffs were really good for him. I think they're a lot of people are complaining now, but I honestly think they're pretty good. I think maybe they should tone down like the rate you build blade at. I think maybe right click damage, but yeah, I don't think they need to nerf him too hard. I think he's actually pretty balanced right now because with Genji, it's like either he's really bad or he's like decent, you know, like he's good.
Or he's really
right
good,
now I think he's good. And I think if they nerf him too hard, he's just going to be terrible again. So I think right now he's in a good spot. I think there's still potential to play him even in this week meta. I don't know if you guys know what the bans are yet, but they're
it's Orisa, Mei, Widowmaker, and Ana.
So I think there's still a possibility of some Genji this week, but yeah, we only had one scrim so far, so we'll see.
Fair enough.
Okay, so yeah, because I originally thought, obviously, you know, I don't know what as well as versed with the top meta, but I think that Brig and her armor pack play a massive role in enabling.
Yeah, Orisa and Brig definitely had a big impact on, you know, how well Genji's did because they got the overheal and the pulls and stuff to work with. But yeah, I think good teams can still make it work.
Because I was just gonna say I never played Genji in online, but I'm sure diving into a Reinhardt's like not very fun. I mean, you could speak to that more than anyone, right? But
he's actually one of the less annoying tanks to deal with as Genji, honestly, because you can like you can deflect his hammer. You can like stay away from him. Like you really just have to watch out for the shatter, and then but it's much more annoying getting pulled by Orisa and then rocked by Sigma. Yeah, that's the worst.
For sure. It's funny how like Genji had these like they're like what were originally like big counters for him, which was like Brig and Orisa, ended up also simultaneously like enabling him at the same point. Like it's interesting that like push and pull that sort of went between the two of them.
Yeah, that's why I think this meta was like pretty interesting to watch for a lot of people.
Yeah, and then I guess one of our final questions here is just sort of now that we know who you're playing, a little bit unfortunate that you get, you know, the defending champions in Paris is like your first matchup. Although I can't wait to see. Hopefully Genji is meta because you versus Sparkle is going to be amazing. But sort of like, how do you guys think these next few matches between Paris Eternal, Washington Justice, who's actually like an up and comer, especially in a Genji meta, and then the Battle of the North, which we can't wait for personally. I'd love to see you guys go up against Vancouver.
I don't think it's Vancouver. I think it's Philly, Spencer. I actually just looked. I believe it's Philadelphia.
I swear it was.
I don't even know personally. So.
Okay. Well, anyways, let's just say Washington and Paris. I think those are your first two. What do you guys think are going to be those matchups?
I think this is like the first weekend we've had. Besides the tourney, this is the first like weekend we've actually had two matches in a long time since like one of the homestands. So it's kind of going to be hard to prepare. We took a week off, so we just started scrimming again today because you know now we know the pools, so we can scrim before. But yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult scrimming or like preparing for two. You know, like you said, Washington's on the come up. Paris just won the tourney, so they're two like decent teams. Well, Paris is really good, but Washington's like decent, so we have to prepare for both. Might be a little difficult, but yeah, we don't know much yet about them, so we'll see.
Oh, wow, it is Philadelphia. I was wrong. I swear when it first came out, I saw Vancouver, but I'm mistaken. Yeah, you guys play Philly. That's a tough schedule.
You guys have some tough lineup.
But top 4 team, if anyone can handle it, you know what I mean? Hopefully you guys can.
I think they're a good spot.
So best of luck. And that's going to be cool seeing that rematch between you guys in Philadelphia. Hopefully you can take some stuff. I guess the final – sorry, you were going to say?
Oh, no, I was good.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I guess the final question I was just going to ask was sort of and kind of going into the Paris matchup, you know, Sparkle was sort of like the talk of the town, the belle of the ball, if you will, after the Summer Showdown. Everyone was sort of talking about how it was Genji, how good it was, and how like he sort of took that tournament by storm. What coming from someone like you, who's such a Genji expert, like what sort of makes Sparkle's Genji like so special? And then what do you, as a very, very top tier Genji player yourself, like how do your styles sort of parallel, and then how do they differ? If you know what I'm trying to say. Or do you play completely different? Do you play very similarly?
Yeah, I think we play pretty similarly. Honestly, I think it's just a matter of like the reason Sparkle did so well in this tournament is because he knew how to play really well with his blade to get the most value. Like every time he bladed, he knew how to get like value against the shock, which is like he knew how to dodge like the cooldowns from the brig, the pulls, like everything like that. Like he has such smart blades. So I think, and he also like gets a lot of resources from his team. Like Ben Best pulls are really good, and you know FT God's like armor packing him. So I think just the style of him going really aggressive, getting a lot of resources, farming blade, and then also like getting really smart blades off as well is what he's so good at, and which made him like good in the tourney. Yeah.
And is that what you, as someone like yourself, would sort of try to replicate?
Yeah, I definitely watched Sparkle's POV from the matches, and I'm definitely like, you know, I learned a lot from watching him.
Well, I think that also one thing Agilities does, or you do that I think you do almost like best is kind of in between blades. I think you're really good at getting single pickoffs, and you're really accurate at those and farming those blades too. And that's one thing that I think that a lot of other Genjis now could look to you towards learning as well. Because I think I was watching you on stream a couple of times, and like you said, you're just picking people off so easily within in between blades.
Yeah, I think that's the best part of my Genji, honestly, is when I'm not bladed. I think like and Chris doesn't
that at all either. It's great.
but I definitely think so. At least in like pro setting for sure.
Yeah. That was one of the things we were saying was like, you know, sometimes the blades didn't go the way that we had hoped, and like I could see that being a bit of improvement. But like your neutral Genji is like top tier. Like consistently when I'm looking at you versus other Genjis and how they're farming up their ults, like even in losing matchups, you're like right with them or like ahead of them. So it's like a really positive sign, I think, for this team moving forward.
Yeah. So with that, I'd like to thank you again for coming on. I think we've run out of time here, and you have some scrims, scrim block coming up. So in case anyone who listens to our podcast doesn't already follow you, which I'm like, I don't see that as being a thing, but tell them where we can find you on the social.
Yeah, I'm just at Agilities on all social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. So
yeah, we'll put all that stuff in the description below if you guys, you know, want to like hang out in Agility stream. I know I've watched you a couple times. It's a really entertaining stream, especially now that Genji's meta, man, because it's cool to see those Genjis just absolutely pop off. So yeah, man, thanks again for coming on. We really appreciate it. It was a fantastic time. And for everyone watching, hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, thank you for watching.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.